What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got some new Keyforge cards we need to be looking about. There was a live stream yesterday. Brad Anders and a couple of others showed us some new cards, and I thought, right, should probably have a look, really. So let's have a look at some new Shadows cards. And we need to start off with a lovely little pair of cards, Subtle Chain and Chain Gang. Incidentally, I have looked at a whole bunch of new cards from the upcoming Worlds Collide set. I'll pop links to all those videos in the description so you can go and have a gander at your leisure. So Subtle Chain, it's an action card, it gives you an amber bonus, and it makes your opponent discard a random card from their hand. Okay, it's fine. I mean, look, the amber's pretty good. I like the amber, and the hand discard is alright, but generally speaking, your opponent's going to have 6 cards in hand during your turn. So, it's really not going to be a huge problem. You might get that one card they really want, but discarding one card from a 6-card hand isn't great. I'm not saying it's a terrible effect, but I am saying that discarding one card from a 6-card hand is rarely going to be particularly great. Name me a great card out there at the moment that discards a random card from their hand. I mean, there are a couple that do see play. They're not phenomenal. We've got Gongoozle, which does 3 damage to a creature, and if it doesn't destroy them, the owner has to discard a random card from their hand. And in Age of Ascension, we got Perplexing Sophistry, which is one of these awkward cards. If you've got more amber than your opponent, they discard a random card from their hand, and you draw a card. Doesn't always work. They've got to have more amber than you. But even that gives you a draw card, as well as discarding a card from your opponent giving you an amber. So this card is fine, it's not terribly exciting. But then we look at Chain Gang. 3 power, 0 armor. After you play Subtle Chain, ready Chain Gang. Oh yeah, now that makes it a lot better. Now all of a sudden we've basically got a creature which is coming into play ready. Silvertooth sees a lot of play and is really good because it comes into play ready. And it's got 2 power and you generally just reap and blah blah blah. But you know what? It's better than nothing, and it's got a creature you can use now. But it gets better because it's got an action whereby you steal an amber and then you shuffle a Subtle Chain from your discard pile into your deck. So if you can have both of these in hand, you play Subtle Chain, gain an amber, your opponent discards a card from their hand, you ready Chain Gang, and clearly you need to play this before Subtle Chain or have it on the board. It comes into play ready, you can action to steal an amber and then put Subtle Chain back into your deck, and essentially you've gained an amber, stolen an amber, discarded a random card from your opponent's hand, and Subtle Chain is now back in your deck to do it all over again. Yeah, this is pretty gosh darn good. We've seen creatures that have actions that steal an amber before. Noddy the Thief comes to mind. And they're good, and we see them and we like them. But this goes even further. Yancey Gang, there we go, there's another example. Tend to be shadows. Shadows are very, very good at stealing, incidentally. But my point here is that the pair of these cards together is great. I like Chain Gang on its own. Chain Gang on its own is really good. But is it any better than Noddy the Thief? The answer is no, Noddy the Thief is elusive. Is it any better than Yancey Gang? The answer is no, Yancey Gang has 5 power. But when you combine it with Subtle Chain, it becomes a lot better. Now, incidentally, these are both uncommon cards. It isn't like Time Traveler and Help from Future South, where you've got a rare and a special rare, so they always come as a pair. These do look like they are just uncommons, so you might not get them together. Think like Fagin and Urchin. It's good, but there are a whole bunch of decks out there that have Urchin that don't have any Fagin in. Either way, this is a fun pair of cards, and you know people are going to want to use these. Now, we're also getting a lovely little card, Breaker Hill. Now, it is a 1 power creature, but it at least does have elusive, so it means you have to be attacked to break the elusive, and then you can be attacked properly. Each of Breaker Hill's neighbours gains action, steal and amber. Oh yeah, that's pretty good actually. Yeah, we're liking this. And I've just shown you examples of Shadow's creatures that have steel and amber, and yes, this will stack. So if you go and put this down next to Noddy the Thief, Noddy the Thief can then use an action that will steal 2 amber. I believe that is the ruling. Feel free to argue in the comment section. This is really nice. Shadows have always been about stealing amber. Shadows have been the best house since Keyforge launched. There was a brief window where I thought logos might have been better. Yes, I've apologised for that. But the fact of the matter is, Shadows has been dominating the metagame. Doesn't mean it's won every tournament, but it does mean the majority of winning decks have had Shadows in. There have been far more winning decks with Shadows than any other house. And the reason is because of the amount of stealing they've got. Stealing grants you an amber, getting you closer to forging a key, while getting an amber off of your opponent, getting them further away from forging a key. And given that the whole point of the game is forging keys, they did call it Keyforge after all. This is really nice. It's a 1-power creature with elusive, so fighting it means you have to fight it twice, but there are a million cards out there, like Throwing Stars and Whistling Darts, and I could keep going, that will very, very easily take this out. I mean, if your opponent's got a Seeker Needle, then as soon as you play it down, they can destroy it and gain an amber. It's a very weak creature that's very easy to get off the board, but this is a really good time to mention that you can use this straight away. Now, annoyingly, it doesn't have deploy, so you've got to put it down on a flank. But if you put this down next to a ready creature, they instantly gain the action and can do it this turn. Noddy the Thief goes down exhausted. Yancy Gang goes down exhausted. Breaker Hill, you put it next to a creature that's ready, and they can do this straight away. If you can then get, say, a Silvertooth down on the other flank, comes in ready, you can do it twice. The likelihood is most games you'll get this down next to a ready creature, action, steal and amber. You'll then have to play another creature down which is exhausted, and by the time you go to use that second creature, Breaker Hill will have been destroyed. But the fact of the matter is, if played correctly, this should always steal you at least 1 amber, and that's alright by me. Now we're also getting Hit and Run. Sounds a little bit violent, doesn't it? Hit and Run is an action card, no amber bonus, we're expecting it to be good. Deal 2 damage to a creature, return a friendly creature to your hand. I love it. Sorry, I absolutely love this. I think this is brilliant. Because both parts of this card are good. Dealing 2 damage isn't amazing, but when you've got to burn the Witch card, one that you really want to take out now, this is really good. And alright, if your opponent's got, say, a Witch of the Eye, then you're not going to be able to get it because it's too powerful. But something like a Dusk Witch will go down. Something like an Ember Imp will go down. There are enough creatures here that are ones you really want to get rid of that have power 1 or 2 that you can get rid of with this. Your opponent plays something like a Restringuntus, you can get rid of it. Unless they play Restringuntus and choose Shadows, in which case you cannot play any of your Shadows cards, and yes, that will include this one. That would be sad. And then, of course, you got the second part of the card, which returns a friendly creature to your hand. And it really depends on what's in your deck as to whether this is good or not. But it's friendly creature, not friendly Shadows creature. So maybe you've got Urchin. We looked at Urchin earlier. Urchin is great. It, when you play it, steals an amber. Maybe you've got Time Traveler. It was featured in Call of the Archons and Age of Ascension. Maybe it'll be in Worlds Collide as well. When you play it, you gain an amber and draw 2 cards. So maybe you take advantage of that. Or maybe it ends up in a deck with Glimmer. So you can play Glimmer down as an alpha card, and then you get to return a card from your discard pile to your hand at the beginning of your next turn, assuming you pick Untamed. The thing to remember is, if you get a Shadows creature, you can play it back down right now. If you get a non-Shadows creature, you got to wait till next turn, which means you will be drawing 1 fewer card at the end of your turn. Now, that might not be an issue, because you might get back something that's going to give you more of an advantage than some random card, but it is something to bear in mind. There will be decks where you don't have great coming into play abilities. And there will be games where there's nothing that you really want to take out that's 1 or 2 power. And in those situations, this card won't be as good. But there are plenty of situations where this card will be really, really good. And then finally, Hock. Hock gives you an amber bonus. It's an action. Destroy an artifact if you do gain an amber. This is phenomenal. This is absolutely amazing. This, I don't want to just come out and say it's the best artifact control or artifact hate we've had, but I can't think of many cards that beat it. When I think of artifact hate, I start thinking about cards like Barehanded. Gives you an amber bonus and returns all artifacts to the top of its owner's deck. And I start thinking of stuff like Nexus, for instance. Now, I really like Nexus, but it's an action. So, it's a reap, but you know what I mean. When you reap, you get to use an opponent's artifact as if it were yours, but you go down exhausted, and the vast majority of times I've seen Nexus played, when a player really wanted to get rid of an artifact, Nexus wasn't their next turn to get rid of the artifact. One of the best we've had is Gorm of Orm. Now, Gorm of Orm is really good because it is an artifact itself, and it basically sits there, and it's got an Omni ability. You sacrifice it and destroy an artifact. So you can leave it there to get rid of any artifact you want. Now, Hock, you've got to draw into it at the right time, although if ever a card was made for archiving, it's this. If you've got archiving in a deck with Hock, you want to archive this at the earliest possible opportunity, so that if your opponent plays an artifact down, you can be like, I get rid of it and gain 2 amber. And that's the thing, right? This doesn't just get rid of an artifact, and there's no mucking about, there's no getting rid of yours, there's no waiting a turn. This just gets rid of an artifact. Even Gorm of Orm goes down exhausted and you've got to wait a turn. This just gets rid of an artifact and you gain 2 amber here. Your opponent wants to take advantage of their Nepenthe Seed. Gutted. Your opponent's using Speed Sigil to have their creatures go into play active. Gutted. Your opponent's using Library of Babel to draw extra cards. Gutted. I'm not going to sit here and start listing out every artifact. That might take a while. This is a phenomenal card. This is an over-the-top, top-tier phenomenal card, and I mean that incredibly sincerely. This is going to swing games. This is going to be, as far as I'm concerned, it should be at least, one of the best cards for archiving. And you even get 2 amber, although as a side note, it says destroy an artifact, not an enemy artifact. So let's say you want to play down a Speed Sigil to help your creatures, but then destroy it so it doesn't help your opponent. This has got your back. And because Speed Sigil's a permanent ability, you can literally play it, play some creatures, or play one down ready, and then immediately destroy it with this. Or you can just destroy an artifact you don't really want and gain 2 amber. Yeah, I like a lot of these cards, but I'm in love with Hock. But I'd like to know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look, there's a comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk Keyforge and any other game. And I've been told I need to start pushing my Patreon more, because a lot of people didn't even know I had one. So if you want to support the channel, patreon.com/PTCGradio, that's the place to go. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.